Today's sermon is titled, The Heart of a Servant King. We've been walking through 1 Samuel here as a church, and it's really been a powerful series. I have enjoyed it. It has had really heavy moments. It has had some things that you're reading it and you're like, oh my goodness, that's intense. That's very serious. That's something that's even hard for us to understand ourselves. But when you surrender to the Lord and you trust in the Lord and you listen well to Him, you see His goodness working through every single circumstance. Today is a beautiful moment in our church family. It's Fifth Sunday, which means we worship together across generations. We've got kids, students, parents, grandparents, all in one space. And on top of that, we get to celebrate baptisms. A powerful picture of new life and spiritual transformation. And today we come to the end of a journey in 1 Samuel. For the past few months, we've talked through the book of 1 Samuel, and then the next week we begin 2 Samuel. But before we turn the page, it's important that we stop and ask this morning, what was God doing all along through 1 Samuel? What was He showing us through every rise and fall, every battle and breakdown? And here's what we're meant to see. God just doesn't give authority. He shapes hearts to carry it because His plans have purpose far beyond us. See, so many times we think it's about us. Students, we think it's all about what we want. And I know for a fact, even in my home, my kids, that's definitely where their minds are. Where are we going? What are we doing? What's taking place? What fun is ahead? What this, what that? See, God just doesn't give authority. He shapes hearts to carry it. Because one of the scariest things for all of us in here would be to be given authority, to be given leadership without a heart to hold it, without a heart to lead through it, without a heart to surrender. We don't become who God calls us to be in comfort. He forms us in pressure, in process, and in pain. And today we're going to see how God shaped David through trials, testing, and adversity to become the kind of king who would carry God's heart. In 1 Samuel 16, verse 7, the Lord does not look at the things people look at. Can y'all just be excited for that today? I mean, give God a praise for that today. He doesn't look at the things people look at, because if He only looked at the things that people look at, the church would be an absolute mess with no hope and no future. But He looks at the things that are on the inside, the spiritual things. What's more important than how a church looks is how a church is, who the people are, who they love, and who they worship. Because as much as I love each and every single one of you, if you are the aim of my worship and my reason for being here at this church, then we've fallen very short of the kingdom purpose of the church, and we're just a great social gathering. We aren't just a great social gathering. There is friendship here, there is fellowship here, but we have a real kingdom purpose to advance the gospel as the bride of Jesus. Now, see, and this wasn't just a contrast between Saul and David. This was a defining characteristic of leaders who love the Lord. They are humble, obedient, and listen because they love God more than men. God was building something deeper than a dynasty. The people wanted a king. He was building a heart in David that could honor him in the weight of leadership, and that would carry forward the arrival of the one true king, Jesus. So point number one today, look at your neighbor and say, point one, God shapes the heart through hidden seasons. Look, everybody hates the waiting room. Nobody likes the waiting room. Nobody likes sitting. Nobody likes being patient. We want things now. We want them in this time frame. Nobody likes the moments of silence, sitting, waiting, nervous. I mean, I went to my endocrinologist the other day because I'm a type 1 diabetic, and as I was there, and I'm waiting to go in. I'm just nervous. I'm always nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous at the doctor, but I'm nervous and I'm waiting. I get in there, my blood pressure, I'm not even gonna tell you what my blood pressure was. Okay, I'm not even gonna tell you what it was. But I had got so worked up just sitting there waiting. But in those waiting moments of our lives, like the real waiting moments, when we feel unseen, when we feel unheard, when we feel unloved, when we feel like everything is stale and stagnant and dry, if you would just turn from what you see, which appears to be an absence of movement, and you would start to worship and see God's word and read God's word, and if you would stop looking with your physical eyes, but hearing and listening well, God will show you, tell you through his word, he's at work. Because he loves you. Because the Holy Spirit's at work in your heart and convicting you. Because you're growing in faith and understanding and this big word we use called sanctification, which is just the process of becoming more like Christ and growing closer to him. He was building something deeper. He was shaping a heart. And then all of a sudden, Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him. And the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon David from that day forward in 1 Samuel 16:13. David was anointed king, but what then happened? Nothing changed publicly, yet everything changed spiritually. I see it as we celebrate today these baptisms and steps of obedience, maybe nothing changes in their lives right away, yet everything has changed. Maybe your relationships aren't healed right away, or pain is not taken care of right away, or grief is not removed right away, but yet everything has changed because there's a hope and a future and a relationship with Jesus Christ. The same ordinary task, the same quiet place, but now with a divine calling. We often measure assignments, but what we see instead of what God favors. And this is the pattern of God. He anoints in private before he anoints in public. It's in the private moments that God shapes your heart. It's in the private moments when nobody else is watching. When you're in the prayer closet, if you have one, when you're up before the children get up and you're alone with the Lord, are you going to scroll or are you going to worship? Are you going to read or are you going to just get worried or whatever is going to happen in these private, quiet moments? God's shaping you, because the worst thing we could ever do is arrive at any point and place before we're ready for it. That we would live within his will. And God's will for your life is his word. Don't measure your assignments by what we see instead of what God favors. David learned to worship, to fight lions and bears, to lead sheep when no one was watching. In fact, no one even knew he was doing those things. Like, he's on his own. He's out in the wilderness just handling business. And doing his responsibilities. We live in a day and a time when people want to be seen. I mean, in fact, all of you, if you have social media, are in fact your own marketing firm. For your family, for yourself, portraying who you want people to see you as. And yet none of that matters if in the quiet moments you're not in a rich and deep relationship with the Lord. If you're not in fellowship with him in a way that is preparing you for the responsibilities of parenting, the realness of marriage. So many times why families split and splinter is because there was not a real deep love and connection with the Lord and listening well so that they could then lead well and love well and see the value of what was before them. And sometimes it's not one spouse's fault. Sometimes it's the damage of another. And then at the same time, both are 100% responsible. And it's a complex thing. And yet at the same time, God is right there for all of us on a path forward, even if everything is busted up. You never know what lies ahead and what this purpose is and what can take place if families would just turn to God and lean on Him. David learned to worship, to fight lions and bears, to lead sheep when no one was watching. And that's where his heart was shaped so he could be effective in the weight of leadership and service. Don't despise the hidden seasons. God is preparing you in obscurity for a future you can't see yet. Specific assignments will differ, but the mission is the same. Serve the Lord, reach the lost, grow closer to Jesus, leave behind a kingdom legacy that will continue one generation after the next. And you, in a season where it feels like nothing is moving forward, stay faithful. God forms warriors in the wilderness. This is point number 2. And I'm going to move through this because there's only so much, that everybody, the kids in here are going to be able to sit through. We've got a lot to celebrate. But God tests the heart through trials and injustice. And look, this is the most important one. Through trials and injustice, because if you have anything worth standing for, you're going to take criticism. I mean, I see it in as simple as sports all the time. There are plenty of critics and opinions from the stands, and there are a few people lining up to coach. There are plenty of people that will have opinions about those in leadership, but there's very few who are willing to step in and sacrifice at that level. And I think because many of us know that we are so quick to judge and have opinions and critique and talk about and all of that. And you're like, well, man, if that's how I'm handling those things, I mean, all the Ohio State Buckeyes have to do is win by 40 instead of 50, and Facebook is a mess. It's a mess. Things are not going to get easier when you step into purpose. They get harder. And they did for David as well. Saul became jealous. David was hunted, lied about, driven out, forced to hide in caves. So many times we think about stepping into assignment and we think that everything's just going to align. And then yet at the same time, everything gets more tough. But when it gets tough, God is shaping you through that pain. He's shaping you through the trials of raising a family. He's shaping you through the difficulties and adversity within the complexity of marriages and relationships with another imperfect person when you, in fact, are an imperfect person yourself. But what we've learned, David didn't grow bitter. He stayed submitted. No matter what trials and injustices come your way, will you remain submitted? Will you remain exactly where you're supposed to be? Will you remain in line and listen well and in love with Jesus? He could have killed Saul twice, as we read earlier, but he didn't. He waited on God. He trusted the Lord's timing. His heart was under pressure, but it didn't break. It bowed. He didn't complain. He trusted. Is the temperature of your home trust or complaint? Like what do you hear at home? Trust or complaint? Are you trusting in the Lord through adversities, or is it complaint? Is it surrender, or is it I'm going to do this my way? Is it submission to what God is calling us to do in His Word as He leads us, or is it I know a better path? Because Saul knew a better path. When he was told to slaughter everything, he said, I'm going to keep the best of this to make the people happy because I know better than God. And yet at the same time, David, as soon as he was just delivering the simplicity of a sack lunch to his brothers, he wasn't even in battle. He was out doing what he was supposed to be doing even after he was anointed king. And he goes to take the people at battle a lunch, and he sees a giant there who is defying God and mocking God. And he says, who is this Philistine? He would mock God. And he picks up a smooth stone and he strikes him down. God tests our hearts with pain and endurance, not to harm us, but to reveal us, to move self-dependence or crowd approval dependence to God dependence. In those moments of injustice, frustration, or delay that God asks, will you take these things into your own hands or will you trust me? Have you been wronged, mistreated, misunderstood? I think we've all been there. We've all been there. We've all been mistreated. And at the same time, we've also always been, although we don't like to admit this, the one that has mistreated others. The test isn't just what happened, it's how you respond. Will you respond in humility? Will you respond in reconciliation? Will you respond in godliness? Or react? Just go right to what our flesh wants us to do and right to the way we want to react. Time and time again, we see throughout 1 Samuel, David responding in place of reacting. And Saul is in a constant state of reaction. Let adversity refine you, not define you, as you make much of God and very little of yourself. Saul was constantly worried about what would bring him honor and praise. The things that you stress about in life, this is going to go over the kids' heads because they're maybe not there yet. Students, maybe you can grab onto this a little bit, but parents and grandparents in the house, we're going to know this. Most of what you worry about in life is about your praise and your perception. How will people see me if this doesn't go well? How will people see me if the finances run out? How will people see me if we're not able to do this or do that? How will people see me if this fails? How will people see me? How will people see us? How will people perceive us? How will my boss perceive me? How will others perceive me? How will my friends perceive me? So many times we sit and worry about everybody but the Lord. And that's what Saul did throughout his time as king, which is what cost him his kingship, which is what cost him his leadership, and which is why God grieved appointing him as king and appointed David instead. Because David wasn't concerned with those things. David was listening for the Lord. Point number 3. God builds faith by requiring surrender. The Lord has sought for himself a man after his own heart in 1 Samuel 13:14. David's faith wasn't just shown in victory over Goliath. It was seen in years of waiting, wandering, and worshiping when nothing appeared to make sense. He didn't need a title to be faithful. He didn't need affirmation to stay obedient. He wasn't pursuing a throne. He was listening to God. The heart of a servant king isn't formed in moments of power, but in moments of listening to the Lord. David wasn't perfect, but he kept returning, kept trusting, kept worshiping, and kept listening for God. What area of your life still needs surrender? Are you listening? Are you listening? Sometimes the greatest step of faith is an action. It's waiting and listening. When you sit in silence, if you get silence, because I prepare my sermons with like one kid on one shoulder, one kid fighting another one in front of me, and I'm like, Lord, I'm not even qualified to go up and preach this week. All my kids do is bicker with each other. I don't even have control of my household, Lord. That's a joke. They do bicker. I'd be worried if they didn't. But we don't often get moments of silence, but we have to pursue them. My kids, and some of you will understand this today, my kids won't know what it's like probably to be bored. They'll say they're bored, but they don't know what boredom is. Like they've never counted telephone poles outside of the car. They've never chopped them down with their hands, like as you go by and like imagine doing it. They have no idea what I'm talking about. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Or take your hand and go like this over whatever's around, whatever building or anything that you're passing. No clue what it's like to do that. But it tells you how much our world has changed. That we're so plugged in to all of these other things that sitting and listening and waiting. When was the last time you saw somebody in life celebrated for waiting? When was the last time you looked at someone around you and said, man, what a powerful testimony. They sat and waited. No, we celebrate the grind, the climb, the acquisition, we see all of that as favor and blessing. And we miss these moments in our lives when things maybe settle down for a little bit, what we call dry seasons, where really it's just the Lord's wanting to speak with you through his word and in your time in prayer, and everything around you, every battle, everything has kind of quieted down, and yet you won't listen. You're too busy people pleasing, plugging into the next thing, doing the next thing, filling it with emptiness, whatever, pursuits that you have, goals that you have, things that you want to do, things that you want to buy, places you want to go. But the moments of listening are where it's so important. So as we close the book of 1 Samuel, here's what we see. The band can come up as we prepare for baptism. God rejected Saul because he refused to be formed through testing. There was a disconnect from what God said and what he did. There was always a disconnect from the instructions of the Lord. He always ad-libbed something. He always twisted something. He always knew a little bit better. And I talked about in one of my sermons, partial obedience is still complete disobedience. And it's so true. But God raised up David because he let the Lord shape him. He was looking and listening for opportunities to live by faith. What are you looking for? What are you listening for? Your eyes are so important. Your eyes are a gateway. What you look at, where your eyes wander, what you long for, reveals deeper and so much more about yourself and how much more you still have to surrender and let go to God. But if we would look and listen for opportunities to live by faith, and I'm telling the families in here today, it's as practical as the moments when you're like, my kids are never going to get it. Like they're never going to get it. They literally, and fear overtakes you, and you're like, I'm failing as a parent. Or in your marriage, you're like, my spouse never hears me or understands me. But what are you looking and listening for? See, if we would spend more time asking God, what is it that I'm supposed to see and hear in this moment, we would be so much better at the way that we respond to everything that happens within the realm of our influence, and that we have control over, and that we have assignment to. And we could surrender the things that we don't and can't control over to the Lord, and that we would trust in him. If we're going to raise children, the children in this room who are resilient and faithful, we must be people who allow God to form our hearts before we chase anything else. Let God shape you in the secret place. Let him test you in the fire. Let him build your faith through surrender. In Psalm 139, 23 and 24, search me, O God, and know my heart. This is David's prayer. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Search me, Lord. He already sees it all. Why are you trying to hide it? He already sees it all. What are you hiding? He already sees it all. He already knows you. And he knew you were going to do this, and he knows what you're going to do tomorrow, and he knows the next mistake, and he knows, and he knows, and he knows. But when was the last time you sat and surrendered and submitted and said, search me? Refine me, shape me, show me, reveal to me, build me. We're going to see some people today who through multiple trials and adversity and setbacks, fear has delayed obedience, but through the example and testimony of another has said, I'm not going to fear anymore. Because if she can go forward, I can go forward. And the Lord will bring people around us at times to show us. And when you are looking for the right things and listening for the right things, you will see the opportunities that are there. Because in this situation, Lucy could have been baptized today. Jessica still could have said, I'm still not going to go. I'm still not going to follow. I'm still not going to take that step. I'm just going to celebrate the obedience of my niece. She said, I'm not going to delay anymore. And for some of us here today, it's time to say, I'm not going to delay obedience anymore. I'm not going to look the other direction. I'm not going to not listen to the Lord. I am going to sit. I'm going to trust. I am going to wait. I am going to listen. And when it is time, I will respond. Can you guys give God a praise for that right there? Today, as we celebrate baptism, the outward expression of an inward surrender, it's a declaration that says, God, I'm yours. Shape me, use me, build me. God, I'm yours. Shape me, use me, build me. I belong to you. Each person getting baptized is stepping into a life of faith, of trust, of surrender, not perfect, but willing. Not polished, but pursuing. Have grace for each other in this church as we take steps of obedience, because there's certainly going to be trials. One attack after another through ministry has taken place, and yet God has been faithful. Not polished, but pursuing. Church family, as we celebrate these lives today, may it remind each of us, God is still shaping hearts, still forming faith, still preparing his people, not just for blessing, but for boldness, obedience, and honor. And let's celebrate together and let God continue shaping us for his glory.